Windows networking. In this lesson, we're going to look at different ways to configure your Windows system for a network. So let's go ahead and get started. There are many topics that you're expected to know in the area of Windows networking for your CompTIA certification. In this lesson, we're going to cover different scenarios in which you would deploy Windows in the network. We're going to cover a home office situation or a SOHO, small office home office scenario, as well as a larger business environment that includes a domain. I hope by the end of this lesson, you'll have a greater comfort level in Windows networking that would help you obtain your certification in the CompTIA Plus, as well as being proficient in your professional career. Now, the purpose of a network is to share resources. That's the bottom line purpose of a network. Those resources could be an information share on a server, it can be files, it can be a device like a printer or other type of connectivity devices, storage device on the network. A network, again, its purpose is to share resources. Now, there's a lot of components and pieces to that sharing of resources and building that network. And we're going to start off with the basics here in this lesson. So, first thing we're going to do here, we have a brand new office, and this office is a small office and it needs connectivity. We need to connect the accounting employee system to the network. It needs to get connectivity to the internet and also access resources on the network. We're also going to connect not just a wired, but also a wireless connection for a device in this network. So, in order to get started, we're going to have to, of course, connect our device to the network in the system, which we'll cover that in a moment. But after we get connected in action, and we're going to verify the connection, we're going to test our connectivity. And also, we're going to make sure that we can reach the accounting workstation that's on this network. And the IP address for that system is going to be 192.168.0.2. Also, we're going to make sure we can reach the internet by pinging the website www.cybrary.it. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you would do, you would unpack your system and get your Ethernet cable and plug into your network jack or your network port. So at that point, we got to make sure that our system is ready to receive the router information that's sent by the firewall, firewall or router. We got to make sure it's in DHCP mode or dynamic host configuration protocol mode. So in order to do that, we're going to go to start, select settings, network and internet. Then we're going to, for the Ethernet network, select Ethernet. Then select the Ethernet network that you're connected to. And under IP assignment, select edit. Under the edit settings, we're going to select automatic DHCP. Now, when you select automatic DHCP, the IP address and settings and the DNS server and all that information is sent to you automatically from the access point, the firewall, the router, whatever controls the internet, and it's issuing out that information on your to the devices on the network. So once we validate that we have once we validate that we're connected and we have an IP address, we're going to validate that we are actually connected by doing a couple things. The first thing we're going to do is run the ping utility in the command prompt. And we're going to ping certain things to see if we got connectivity with the network, then connectivity out into the internet. So to run the ping utility, we're going to press the Windows key plus the R letter or the letter R and type CMD for the command prompt. When that command prompt pops up, we're going to type in PING space 192.168.0.1 and we hit enter. And it replies with a response. Great. We know that we have just pinged the firewall of that network. We could also ping the accounting workstation that we talked earlier, 192.168.0.2, and that will reply as well. So that will test our connectivity. Now we're going to open up a web page. We're going to open up the cybrary.it web page, and we open it up, it'll open up in our browser because we've established connectivity. You can also ping the web domain name of cybrary.it as well, and it will respond with an IP address. So basically, what you've done in this utility so far, you've tested network connectivity to a device on the network. Also, you have tested your internet, validated your internet connection by pinging outside of the network to a website and also opening that website in a browser page. So therefore, you've connected your computer, received the information from a router, got IP address and all your configuration, then you tested your connectivity. Now, if we take a couple steps back and say, for instance, if it was a network where you had to do a manual configuration of your IP address or a static IP address, you wouldn't select automatic DHCP, you would select manual, and you would put the following information in. For your IP address, you would put in the 192.168.0.20. That would be in this particular network. Your subnet mask would be 255.255.255.0. And your gateway would be the firewall or what device gets you out to the internet. And that would be 192.168.0.1. And you would put in whatever DNS servers are issued to you as well. So you have basically learned how to configure your system manual or static, as well as receiving automatically from the router or firewall. So we got new duties now from the IT manager. Now he wants us to join, or they want us to join the workstation to the Cybrary work group. Now, a work group is a network of computers, and the work group basically is like peer-to-peer computers. It's there's computers that set up in a peer group. So we're going to set up our computer in a work group. We're going to share a printer, and also we're going to map a drive to a folder on a workstation. And finally, we're going to connect a wireless device to the SSID of office staff. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So again, a work group is usually in a small office, home office environment. There's no dedicated server. It's all the systems are peers, but those peers share resources. It could be a folder, it could be a printer, other applications that they would share amongst those computers in that work group. Whereas a domain is more for businesses, bigger businesses and enterprises. A domain generally has dedicated servers, centralized management of the resources and users, and security. You have a more heavier infrastructure of servers with dedicated roles in a domain. And if it's a Windows environment, it will be controlled by the Windows Active Directory, which has a lot of features and will control who gets in onto what systems and set permissions on systems, folders, resources, um, but in detail. So let's go ahead and join the Cyber work group. We're going to first by start by hitting the start menu, selecting the settings gear, select system, then about. Then we're going to select about the advanced system settings, then related settings. And under the heading of computer name, domain, workgroup settings, we're going to select change settings. Next, we're going to rename this computer or change its domain or work group and select the work group option and we're going to make the work group option Cybrary because that's the name of our small work group. We're going to hit OK twice and we're going to reboot the computer. Okay, we have joined that system to the work group by following those steps. Now, when that system reboots, this computer will be able to see other computers in the network on the same work group. And it will be able to share resources or get to resources on those devices that's in that work group. So, shared resources. Again, those could be files, folders, printers, or other hardware or applications. So, in order to share a printer, on our system, we would first connect the printer, of course, to our workstation, but then we would select Start, the settings icon, select Devices, select Printers and Scanners, choose the printer that you want to share, select Manage, select the printer properties, then you would choose the Sharing tab. And on the Sharing tab, you select Share this printer. Now, what you can do here is, say, for instance, you wanted to share your printer and you wanted to call it, Bob's printer or office printer or whatever name you want to give it. Other computers in the network will see that shared name. So this is the shared name of that printer. You would click apply those settings, and you're done. You've actually shared a resource on that work group. Now we want to map a drive. Say, for instance, there is another computer that's in the network that has a folder that we need to routinely retrieve information from. Instead of going through the network path and browsing for it, we can set up what's called a map drive. It's like a shortcut with an assigned drive letter, just like the drive letter on like a USB device or a drive. You can assign whatever letter you want to assign, unless the network administrator is giving you a letter that you need to use. So to map a drive, we would open File Explorer from the taskbar start menu, or you can press the Windows logo key plus the letter E. Select this PC, then on the computer tab, select Map Network Drive. In the drive list, select the letter. In the folder box, type the path or the of the folder or the computer or whatever device you're trying to get to, or you can hit browse and you can browse for that particular device. If it's a workstation, you'll click on that workstation and you'll see that shared name we talked about earlier, if it was a printer or whatever shared name they want to give to a folder of whatever. And you would select that. Make sure that you hit reconnect at sign in. And also, if that system is controlled by other credentials other than your own, you want to hit connect using different credentials. And you can put whatever credentials were issued to that workstation that you need to access that. Okay, so from there, you hit finish, and now you've mapped a network drive. Whenever you reboot your computer, that will drive will connect automatically. Okay, this work group or this small office actually has upgraded. They've gotten servers in and they've implemented a Windows Active Directory domain server. So it's been upgraded. Now we need to connect our work group stations to the Cybrary domain. So let's go ahead and get started. To do that, you would hit Start, Settings, Accounts, Work or School, Connect, join this device to local Active Directory domain, enter the domain name. You would enter the domain name in the field and hit next. And it'll ask you at that point for appropriate credentials. This could be an administrator credentials or whatever credentials the network administrator has given you permission to use to set that up. Once you put that in, you would save it, reboot the system. Now the system is in a Windows domain. Being in a domain, you'll have a little bit different look because this is a domain profile. It's not the local profile of the computer, it's a domain profile. Other things that you need to be aware of in a network is proxy settings. Some organizations do not allow users or browsers to access the internet directly. They may have a proxy. And what the proxy does, it takes the request from the users and goes out to retrieve that page. This could be for security purposes, to cut down on malicious websites or attacks from different websites. So to set up a proxy, they would either be in the Edge or the Internet Explorer browser. You would go to Start, the settings icon, Network and Internet, and Proxy. And you can do automatic or manual. Manual was the most common because you can put in the IP address and the port. Different connections that you'll set up in your Windows device is your wireless connection. And where in Windows 10, you'll have a display notification in the icon tray of your wireless connections that are available. You would choose your connection that you see, office staff, select that, select connect, and whatever password was issued or pre-shared key, you would put that in, and you're connected to the wireless network. Wireless wide area network, or WWAN, is a cellular connection. If this was a laptop or desktop, it had a cellular adapter card in it from a provider like AT&T, Verizon, or any other type of cellular provider, you would use this type of connection. Now, this connection needs to be registered with the provider because, of course, there will be associated charges. And also, when you set up this connection, it will be metered by default. Public network versus private network. If you're on a laptop or on a Wi-Fi and you're out in a coffee shop or McDonald's and on the Wi-Fi there, you want to make sure you set your network profile to be public because public is untrusted. And basically, your computer, your sharing of files and printers or anything other information would not be revealed to the computers that's in that network. Back in your home network or your work network at work, you would choose private. That's for networks that you trust. And again, we talked about a meter connection a little bit. A meter connection is a connection that will try to reduce the data usage on a network. Now, this may affect how some apps operate, especially like Windows updates. VPN is another connection type that you need to be aware of. You can set up a VPN right from the Windows 10 workstation. Now, VPN is a virtual private network, and it's an overlay on top of an established connection. It's an encrypted private tunnel. So, in order for to have a VPN, of course, you have to have an internet connection first. So, to create a VPN, you would do start the settings gear, network and internet, then VPN, and you'll create the connection from there. And of course, you'll need information from your provider. Windows Defender Firewall is another very important piece of information that you would need. Um, firewalls in the Windows system have been around since XP Service Pack 2. It's a host-based scalable firewall, very important part of Windows. Now, by default, it blocks incoming traffic to your system. And to access this, you would go to Start Windows Control Panel, Windows Defender Firewall, or you can select Start and start searching for it by typing in Firewall. Now, applications that you install or folders that you share, a rule will be automatically added to those. All right, we covered a lot of ground in this network. We talked about Windows networking and the key things that you would need to know in setting up a Windows network, connecting to a work group or domain, and other key important factors of that. I want to thank you for joining me for this lesson, and I will see you in the next lesson.